Who's actually going to get the most out of a Propane grill head like the Bull Outdoor Products Outlaw, who can safely walk away, and does the price make sense for the average backyard barbecuer? If you're still on the fence, you're not alone. There's a lot of hype in the propane grill market, and it's easy to buy something that looks great on paper but falls short when you try to sear a steak or keep a side dish warm for an hour. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In this video I'm going to break down the real-world experience of installing the Outlaw, what it actually feels like when you fire it up for a family cookout, and where the value really lives beyond the headline 60000 BTU claim. First, let's talk about the setup. The Outlaw is a Propane unit designed to replace the existing cooking head on a Bull Outlaw propane grill chassis. Because it's a stainless steel sandwich with welded burners, the installation is more of a swap than a full-blown rebuild. You disconnect the old burner block, line up the new stainless steel grate, bolt it in, and you're ready to turn the knob. For anyone who's comfortable handling basic tools and has a little elbow grease, the process takes about 1,520 minutes. If you've never taken a grill apart, the learning curve is modest, but you will need to double-check that the gas connections are snug and leak-free before lighting. Skipping that safety check is the biggest mistake new owners can make, because a loose fitting can lead to a propane hiss that ruins an otherwise great evening. Now, why does the 60000 BTU number matter? In plain English, it tells you how quickly the grill can bring a cooking surface up to temperature and how well it can maintain high heat. In practice, I tested it on two different scenarios: a quick sear of a 1-inch ribeye and a low and slow bake of a whole chicken in the warm zone area. For the ribeye, the thermometer on the front of the unit hit 500 F within 3 minutes, and the flame stayed steady as I moved the steak from the outer edge to the center. The result was a crust that looked like a professional grill mark and an interior that stayed pink, exactly what a high-heat sear demands. For the chicken, I set the main burners to a medium level, shifted the bird onto the 176 square inch warm zone, and let it sit for an hour while the grill maintained an ambient 275 F. The bird came out evenly cooked, the skin stayed crisp, and the extra warm area meant I didn't have to rotate the grill or prop the lid open. Those two real-world tests illustrate that the high BTU rating isn't just marketing fluff. It actually translates into versatile heat management for both fast, hot cooking and gentle, indirect heat. The stainless steel construction is another practical point that shows up when you're using the grill day after day. The cooking grates are solid 304 stainless steel, which resists the kind of warping you see on thinner aluminum or coated surfaces after a few seasons of high heat. Over a month of weekly BBQs, I noticed that the grates stayed flat, so flare-ups were easier to control because the grease had a clear path to the drip pan. The welded burners also feel robust. There's no whistling or uneven flame patterns that sometimes happen when cheap cast-iron burners develop hot spots. If you've owned a lower-priced propane grill before, you'll recognize the difference. This grill head doesn't need a nightly tune-up to keep the flame even. What about the weaknesses? The biggest trade-off is that the Outlaw is a dedicated replacement part rather than a complete, portable unit. If you don't already have a compatible Bull chassis, you'll end up spending extra on a grill frame, which can push the total cost well above $600. Also, the heavy-duty thermometer, while accurate, is mounted on the front of the housing where it can be brushed by a spatula or wiped clean accidentally. I found that a quick wipe with a damp cloth was enough to restore readability, but it's a tiny inconvenience that adds up if you're constantly checking temperatures. Finally, the Piezo ignition is reliable for the first few months, but the spark can be a little finicky after a summer of exposure to rain and humidity. A light tap on the ignition button usually fixes it, but if you're in a region with a lot of moisture you might want to keep a spare lighter on hand. So, who should consider buying the Bull Outdoor Products Outlaw? If you already own a Bull Outlaw or a similarly designed propane chassis and you're looking for a durable, high-heat cooking surface that won't warp after a season, this is a solid upgrade. It shines for people who like to sear steaks, grill burgers, and also maintain a low and slow zone for larger cuts or side dishes. The wide 575 square inch primary cooking area plus the separate 176 square inch warm zone gives you the flexibility to run 2 different cooking styles simultaneously, which is a real benefit for anyone who entertains.